Hey, everybody, welcome back to Pro AV today. Today is one of the conversations that I look forward to most every year. And if you know me, you know how big of a fan I am of the E4 experience put on by Exertis Almo every year. I think 4 times every year. This year, starting off in DC and going through to a lot of great places. But I wanted to have that conversation again, especially to put it top of mind with some people who may not be familiar with E4. Maybe some folks who just are kind of getting into the industry for the first time, even folks who have been in the industry for a while. There's a lot of value in the show. So I wanted to mix it up a little bit today. We're bringing on a different guest, and that's Rob Voorhees from Exertis Almo. Rob, thanks so much for coming on today.
Oh, Ben, it's always a pleasure. I love getting a chance to speak with you.
As always, man, it's always a good conversation, whether it's in person or digitally. But I got to ask, right? And you know, at this point, I think a lot of people in our community I would say the quote unquote traditional Pro AV community is pretty familiar with, you know, the E4 experience, right? And obviously Exertis Almo being a massive name in the industry helps with that. But, you know, you and I had a chance to talk a little bit off air and jest a little bit about how sometimes our industry likes to hang out in the same circles, right? Whether that's Infocom, ISE, and all that is great, you know, but the companies and the brands who really are reaching out to those regions, to those end users, to those people kind of boots on the ground are having a lot of success. And that's one of the things that I love about, you know, the E4 experience is that it gives you a chance as an end user, as an integrator, as somebody more local to get some hands-on experience with a lot of these technologies. So I want to ask and really set the table, you know, kind of what's the vision behind E4, right? It's been a show for quite a while, and especially post-merger, you've seen a lot of different places. But really, what's the vision behind it, Rob? And what are some of the reasons that you guys continue to do it year over year?
Well, I think it's a perfect segue from what you were just starting with, Ben, is, you know, as great as those larger trade shows are in this industry, I feel like as an attendee for those events as well, you really know what to expect going into every single one of them. And you know, kind of what the buzzwords are and the new technology that's going to be shown and the partners that are going to be there. One of the things that I personally love about the E4 experiences is what you said. It lets us get to, more of a street level from a region's perspective. And every conversation seems to be different. Every event seems to be different. We always have new partners, new products, new ways to engage with people at these events. And we really saw that take off this year with some new ideas where we were actually soliciting ideas from other members of the Pro AV industry because we wanted to hear from others outside of Exertis Almo on what type of sessions would you want to hear about? What type of education would you want to speak on? So for the first time ever this year, we have a number of brand new segments, a lot of brand new presenters this year. And that's what you get, I think, from the smaller regional perspective is it feels more personalized. It feels more custom for that dedicated area. And we do that all over the country, no matter what demographic we're going to. So I really think it's a great opportunity to get a little more hands-on with our partners and with our vendors than maybe you find at some of those larger events.
Well, look, and I remember even as an end user kind of cutting my teeth in the industry, it was difficult for me to find local events outside of maybe just some specific sponsored events where I could touch technology, right? And at the time, I mean, I was even working for a church, and you know, it was difficult. We had the budget to spend, but it felt like nobody wanted to talk to us, right? Nobody was willing to have that conversation, and obviously our industry's evolved quite a bit, right? And it's not a demerit against our industry 15 years ago when I was working at a church, right? But I think it's good to see kind of how far we've come, right? And you know, obviously we talk about technology, getting to see things like displays in person, getting to look at LED walls, and getting to look at color contrast ratios, PTZs, so many different things. But one of the things that always jumps out to me about the show, and I'll even spotlight last year, is that you guys are willing to have conversations that are uncomfortable in the industry, whether that's DEI, whether that's the role of women in leadership in the industry, whether that's industry-specific trends, right? What are some of the things that people can expect to see on this year's circuit, especially when it comes to those conversations? I don't want to say the headier side of our industry, but really the side that kind of pushes and challenges us a little bit.
Yeah, we're always looking for those type of topics. And me personally, I think one of the things that I like best about, you know, some of what you just said with, you know, using DE&I as the example is, a lot of the times it's easy for people to just look at Pro AV and think the technical side, but there's so much more that goes into it. And, whether it is women in the workforce or diversity, we want to keep the industry growing, and we want to keep, like the new blood coming into it. And by having those types of conversations, it's really helped spearheading that. This year, we added a number of new segments and new sessions, and these are Avixa CTS RU certified courses. That's one of the biggest components of E4 is the education and making sure that we are partnering with Avixa to offer those RUs. And one that I'm particularly excited about is about how to harness AI in collaboration spaces. And we have a really great guest speaker, Amanda Stewart from Microsoft, coming in to do that. But not only is she presenting on that, but we're also having an entire Microsoft Teams Room Experience Center. That's the first time ever. We're doing that tomorrow at the DC show. A whole host of other, typical, what I would call typical AV courses about meeting room design, digital signage. We have just a really good group of guest speakers. But one of the things that I loved most when I saw the lineup for this year is, we have a really good blend of not just your traditional AV speakers that you might have seen before, but also these newer segments that we got through that solicitation process I mentioned, where we had outsiders from Exertis Almo, able to submit their own sessions. And that's what I was most interested in, is keeping that content fresh and making sure that we're doing our part to, help people want to come to these events. And if you're constantly hearing and seeing the same thing over and over again, obviously that's going to reflect in the attendance. So, I think we did an absolutely phenomenal job doing that and getting these new sessions. And, that's just kind of the off show floor sessions. And then we also have a really great, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but a really great live demo that we're going to be doing in our drone solution booth. And I think that's going to be drawing a lot of attention as well. So again, it's all about coming up with those new ideas, seeing and listening to what the industry is telling us, and then making sure we're offering that content to folks.
You know what? I love that you brought up drones. This wasn't a pre-prepared question at all, but I had the chance to meet with a lot of the drones team at a show, energy specific show. And I love the way that, especially shows like E4 and obviously Exertis Almo, love the work you guys are doing. You're willing to engage with companies and have conversations outside of traditional Pro AV purviews, right?
Yes.
If you were to tell me, I think DJI was there last year as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were there. But it's funny that you might hear that, and the traditional AV stickler might say, well, what in the world are they doing there? The only thing that they could do is capture cameras, and but what's interesting is we're now having conversations about site surveys with drones, about proactive maintenance with drones, about construction and engineering, because folks like you guys are willing to kind of bridge that gap a little bit and teach. And I think what that does, and I want to talk about newcomers for a second. I think what that does is that really builds a bridge to the AV industry for a lot of folks, right? Because you look at the world of AV, and some of the career paths are still there, right? The audio engineer, that's very familiar career path, or folks in IT or who volunteer. But you've also now got the content creators. You've got the the drone flyers. You've got so many different people that are finding their way into the industry. And I just got to commend you for having those conversations. But I want to talk about the newcomers. What are some of the things that they can expect to see at a show like E4 versus maybe traditionally in Infocom and things like that?
So I think, the entire show is really put together to make sure it's not just touching the traditional AV side of the business, but also not on the opposite side of the spectrum. We don't want to tailor it just to the newcomers. So It is really a good balancing act that our entire events and business development and sales organization goes through when they're methodically putting every one of these locations and every one of these shows together is we want to make sure that the vendors, the product, the keynote addresses, and especially the educational sessions, there's something for everyone. So yes, you will have something like a live demo at the drones booth that would be perfect for somebody like myself, who much like you said, Ben, it's outside of the normal AV scope. But I will tell you, in the short amount of time that we've been in the drones business, all of a sudden I'm now paying attention to news articles about how law enforcement agencies are using drones to actually save lives. And that's the type of product you're going to be able to see here on the show floor that might give one of our partners the idea, well, I'm already offering this type of hardware to government. Now I can offer this as a solution as well. And as I mentioned earlier with some of our educational seminars, Tom Kerr, who is our Exertis Almo in-house designer and trainer, he does 2 phenomenal classes that are all geared about AV design, acoustics in meeting rooms. And I think that's great for, beginners all the way up to the most experienced, because what I will urge any attendee at an E4 experience is come with an open mind, be prepared to learn at least one thing new. Take one thing away from every E4 experience you go to and be able to apply that. Because I can tell you, as an employee at Exertis Almo, I do the same thing at every show. And this is it's either my 28th or 29th event that I've done so far. And I still take something new away from every one of them. So that would be my biggest emphasis, is whether you're brand new to the industry, just getting your foot in the door, or you are an old school, traditional, seasoned veteran, you will find something at an E4 experience that's brand new.
Look, I can attest that is entirely true, right? Whether it's, having discussions about the evolution of the sales channel in Pro AV, or end user use cases, or the role of the new decision maker in IT. There's so many things to get to pull away, because it gives you an opportunity not only to see the hardware and learn a lot of things, but network with people in your community. That's one of the benefits really of having these regional shows, is that it draws people that are local, right? Whether it's, sometimes it might be competitive integrators, which is fine, but it's also end users, it's houses of worship, it's corporate IT managers. It draws so many different folks, and it allows a wealth of conversation to be had. Rob, I know that we've got, I think, 4 coming up this year. How can people find out more? How can they register? I know it's a free show. How can people register and learn a little bit more?
Yes. Well, first off, thank you for mentioning that. I do want to put an emphasis on that. That's another benefit of doing these smaller regional shows, is they are completely free to our integrators. So you don't hopefully have to plan, flights and hotels and rental cars just to get out there. You can always go on to e4experience.com and view the entire lineup of where we're going to be in that given year, and then make sure to go ahead and register and reserve your spot right there from the page, and also learn a little bit more about who the presenters are going to be and what sessions are going to be at that event.
Well, look, Rob, like I said, it's one of my favorite sets of events every single year. Every year I try and find my way to at least one of the experiences, because it's good to just meet and learn, right? And folks like us who have been in the industry for a while, there's always something to learn, right? If you're done learning, you're done growing, which for anybody in this industry knows that's the kiss of death, right? There's always something new, always something happening. And obviously we want to build on those base principles, and, shows like E4 help build a lot of that, but it also has conversations outside of maybe the traditional world of AV. Rob, I want to give you kind of the crystal ball, though. You talked about the evolution of kind of AI and some of these new technologies that have found their way into the AV side of things. What excites you most about maybe even the next couple of years, or maybe next 5-10 years, about some of the things you guys are hoping to see in the industry?
I think in general, and pivoting back to what we've talked about with things like drones and AI, I can't pinpoint exactly what I think it's going to be, but what I will tell you is I do see a lot of that same methodical planning to finding newer technologies. And I use myself as an example. back in 7 years ago when I first got started at Almo, I got started because Almo was getting into the telecommunications space and bandwidth, and they saw things like AV over IP was starting to generate some steam, and with that becomes a big need for bandwidth. And now you're looking at drones and AI and collaboration and harnessing all of that, like we're going to do in the Microsoft room. So I see a lot more of that coming, where it is going to kind of be building that dynamic around all of those newer technologies. We're going to still see a lot of all-in-one type products that I think are really a big draw, not just to vendors and the manufacturers, but also to partners, because it's easier installations, more streamlined processes, and certainly help cut costs wherever possible. So I see a lot of that coming for the future still, and just constantly perfecting it.
Well, Rob, look, I know you and I will get a chance to see each other either at one of the shows or one of the normal AV kind of circuit shows as well this year. It was great to chat with you. If you all haven't had a chance to sign up or attend an E4 yet, highly, highly encourage you to. You'll come away with at least one new thing to learn, right? And that's always a bonus. But Rob, thanks so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate you, and have a great rest of the season.
You too. Thanks so much, Ben.
And thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check us out next time on Pro AV Today.